Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see all your smiling faces. I believe in interaction. So those of you that are sitting in the back, I promise you that I am coming to get you, okay? We have adjusted the AC in here, so if it gets too hot, too cold, you let us know. We'll keep playing with it. So we've got the next hour to talk about something called the experience age. How many of you have heard of the experience age? One of you, what do you know about it? Because maybe I'll sit and listen to you.
I don't know about that. It has something to do with more they want to be shown, they don't want to be told.
Okay.
It's a lot to do with, it may be virtual, but they're more into visual.
Okay. Pretty close. Who else heard of it? Somebody else? Yeah.
In my industry, we're all about experiences and creating experiences.
Okay.
It's how people interact and
Yep.
they want more of an experience than just a lecture.
Yeah, people want an experience, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, most times when you ask someone, what age are we in, what do they typically say? Misinformation age, right? Yeah. They still think we're in the information age, okay? We've moved on from that, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why we moved on, what its implications are, and as you've heard from these two ladies, it is about experiences. It's what our employees and our candidates for employment are telling us that they want from their employers. And we're going to talk about how we deliver on that. And because many of you are also in the customer service business, we're going to talk about how those two blend, right? So it's not just about our employees, it's about our ability to continue to serve our customers in the experience age, because our customers are expecting something different. So I want to want you to think about for a moment which island you're on right now. So we've got one island over here. It's pretty volcanic. It's a little ashy. It's a little dirty. Sand's kind of black and dusty. There's no palm trees. There's no mimosas. There's no beach cabanas. And there's very few palm trees. You're just kind of hanging out there, okay? And on that island, we've got people that are just kind of going through the motions for us. They're not engaged. They're really not happy. They're actively disengaged in some cases. Profits aren't where they need to be. Customer retention's not where it needs to be. It's a pretty ugly place, right? And then we've got the other island across the bay. That island's lush, it's tropical, it's where we want to go vacation. There's cabana boys running around if you're into cabana boys, right? They're bringing you drinks. You can rest, you can relax. Tropical vibes everywhere. But on that island, the difference is not just in the scenery, it's in the people. And the people that are on that island are very engaged with their customers. They're engaged with each other. They're about driving their islanders' experiences for them. And so people get off of that island and are happy. In fact, they want to come back. Now, the people on the volcanic island, they want to get off that island too, right? They don't want to go back there. We're going to talk about how to get on the boat to get us off of the volcanic island and onto that lush island that's the experience age. Because if we don't, the challenge for our businesses and our customers is really quite dire. There are already incidences that I've been seeing of major companies, major organizations struggling on this front. I mean, how many of you are hiring right now? Half the room. How many of you deal with people who are hiring right now? Okay, most of you, right? Can you find the people you need? Nope. Okay? That's not necessarily an indicator that you're not in the experience age, but it doesn't help. And so what I find is that organizations that are not able to move into this age that we're going to talk about, they are going to struggle for the foreseeable future. The labor shortage is not going away. If you think once COVID's done, whatever that means, that everything's going to go back to normal, I would ask you to go back to 2019 and 2018 and ask yourself if your business was really significantly different back then in terms of your talent pool and what you were trying to draw in. I'm willing to bet it wasn't. And so this talent shortage, this challenge of finding good people and retaining them and keeping them motivated is here to stay. And the folks that figure it out get to live on that lush island. The rest of us, we're hanging out in volcanic ash. Not a very good place to be. Okay? So, to start off with, here's a couple information pieces about the change. Okay? What we're seeing is a change from pure information gathering. I mean, think about when the information age started. It started with the advent of the internet. And it was all about all of this cool information that we could put at our fingertips. And it's still there, right? I mean, I was out with friends the other week, and we started, just playing some little trivia amongst ourselves. And one of my buddies was stumped, and I said, "How can you not know that?" He says, "I don't need to know it." He just holds up his phone. He goes, Google knows everything, right? We don't need to know anything. So in that situation, that instance, sure, the internet is still full of information. But the challenge of the experience age is, how do we use that information? How do our employees want to experience that information? How many of you, since you've been here, I've talked to a couple people, and this is your first visit to Corpus Christi, as it is mine. How many of you have put out something on social media since you've been here about this as being your first time to Corpus Christi and something you've done? Really, only one person. So no one else put anything on social media about this trip. Y'all are afraid of stalkers. Okay, it wasn't your first time. So who has posted anything about being in Corpus Christi? I'll rephrase the question. Okay, still only a couple. All right. Why do you post that? Does the world revolve around you? Okay. All right. Who else? Why'd you post? Okay. Why? That's an interesting statement. So he wants to show everybody back home. You're out, you're about, you're living life. You're what? You threw an axe. Okay. So oftentimes, can you think back, those of you that I'm going to date some of us in here, how many of you remember your neighbors would go on vacation and they'd come back and they would invite you over to their house for the infamous slideshow and picture share of their vacation, right? And everyone, do we have to do this? And oh, we've got to make potato salad too when we go over to look at their stupid vacation pictures, right? And now what do? It's all over Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, whatever it is you're using, all your vacation pictures, and everyone oohs and ahs and likes them. Isn't that a complete 180, right, in terms of how we view things? But that's evidence of the experience age. That when the folks that we're connected to are posting things, they're sharing their experiences, we want to experience it with them. Why do you think TikTok is taking off like mad? Those short little snippets of people's lives and what's going on allows us to experience what they are experiencing. That's the big shift between pure information and experience. And so we're going to try and figure out, how do we harness this? Because if we can figure out how to harness it, we're going to be at the forefront of attracting and retaining talent. And you're going to see why being in the experience age as an employer is absolutely so critical by the time we're done today. Okay? So, when I think about the experience age, I think about how we get the most out of life. I was recently doing a set of focus groups for a client. We had done a full culture assessment. And as you would expect, we had some surprises in the results, things we weren't expecting to see. Now, this organization has a really good culture. Like, if you went to work there, you'd say, oh, this joint's pretty cool. But it's changing. And the executive team was smart enough to recognize that it was changing, and they wanted to figure out why, and was it changing where they wanted it to go. And one of the things that kept coming back in the focus groups that we ran after the survey was this communication challenge. And what was more concerning to me was several people in the focus group saying, I don't feel like I can bring my full self to work every day. That's a dangerous, dangerous precedent for our people. Now, if you're a drunken, hateful bigot, I don't want you to bring those things to work every day, okay, right? We don't want that. But what we're saying about not being able to bring our full selves is that there's something about us that makes us who we are that we've got to hide. What happens if you have to hide parts of yourself from someone? You're inauthentic. Inauthentic, I like that word. You agree? Okay. What else? How are you feeling? Oh, so you feel deceitful because you're hiding something. Okay. How else do you feel? Fake, stressed, right? It's almost like you're living a lie. And what they say, the best way to not feel stressed is to not lie because then you don't have to keep up with the next lie. Okay? Those are all, so think about that. So what if you've got just 10% of your workforce that's feeling that way? What is that doing to the workforce? What is that doing to their ability to impact your customers? Can they really be there for their customers when they're not there for themselves? That's the biggest challenge with the experience age. If we fail to allow people to bring their full selves to work and to provide the experiences that today's employees want and need, we're going to fall behind in a hurry. And I'm going to give you a couple of case studies in a little bit here that shows how closely mirrored experiences for employees are with experiences for customers. Because we're all changing. What we want from a level of service has gone up. And some of that is due to social media. Because we get bad service, what's the first thing we do? We put it on Yelp, we put it on TripAdvisor, we tell our friends, don't go to this joint, food was horrible, bartender was miserable, whatever. We tell everybody about it. And hopefully we're doing the same when we get really good service, okay? But we're putting it out there, okay? We're putting our experience out there. How many of you are familiar with the website glassdoor.com? What is it? Half the room, arms went up. What is it? You're smiling, what is it? I told you I was going to come back and get the back row. Okay, employees' way of rating companies. Is it typically filled with roses and butterflies? No, it's not, right? So we do have to take it with a grain of salt, to be quite honest. However, even in the complaints, there's usually some truth. And that's the danger of social media. If we allow those kinds of websites out there to drive our people's experience, or more importantly, our potential candidates' experiences with us, we're in danger. What's it like to simply apply for work with your company? What kind of experience is that? Is it a nightmare? Do you ask someone to upload their resume, and then after they do that, essentially fill in the blank for an hour of all the things that's on their resume? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands because I know half of you've got that. Horrible experience. Most people aren't going to do it. And you say, well, that just shows they're lazy. I don't know. Part of me says, well, why are you asking for the same information twice? Right? That's what goes through my head when I work with clients on this type of thing, and I go in and I start doing audit, I'm like, why are you, I just uploaded, now you want the exact same. So if you're asking me for information twice before I've ever even come into work, what's work going to be like when I get there? Is there going to be duplicate process and things I got to overdo and redo and all this other stuff, right? So this idea of experience starts well before we ever get someone in the door. Any of you familiar with the term employment brand? Oh, good. So you all have a marketing brand, right? At least you hope you've got a good marketing brand, but you have one. I'm here to tell you, you have an employment brand too. So someone tell me what you think your marketing brand is or what it represents. Even if it's not like a formal statement, but what does your marketing brand represent? A destination, a beautiful tropical place. Okay, that's your marketing brand. Give me someone else's. You made eye contact. What's your marketing brand?
It's all about the experience for us.
Okay, experience for what?
For outdoors, outdoor fun.
Outdoor fun.
The river.
okay? Close to the river. So if I'm going to do business with either of these companies, do you hear what they're selling me? Selling me beautiful tropical stuff, experiences by the river, outdoor life. I know exactly what I'm getting if I do business with them as a customer. Do your people know exactly what they're getting when they do business with you as an employee? Do your candidates know what they're getting when they apply for work with you? And most people will say, well, Ed, it's on our website. And what do I typically find on a company's website? Who is a company's website directed to? I'm sorry? Customers, right? Not potential employees. So all I see on your website is how you attract customers. Oh, but Ed, I got a hiring tab on my page. Okay, let me go check that out. There are no positions at this time. That's that? That's why they go to Glassdoor, right? I go to your hiring page, and either I see nothing or I see like 2 or 3 open positions, whatever it happens to be. Does that tell me anything about what life is like at your company? Nope. I got no idea what that experience is like. Yet I bet on your customer pages, you've got customer testimonials and smiling faces of folks who are singing your praises because you're trying to attract other clients like them, right? Why don't we have our people talking about the wonderful things that we're doing for our people on our webpage so that we attract other wonderful people to work for us? It's not rocket science, but it's about the experience, okay? Now, let's not kid ourselves. Do we make every customer happy every time? No. Do we strive for it? Yeah. Can we make every employee happy all the time? No. Do we strive for it? Yeah. It's the same concept. The difference is, as good as we are with doing these things for our customers, we're equally as bad for doing it with our people. Now, if we continue to not attract the right people, what is going to happen to our marketing brand? It can't possibly survive. Just before COVID hit, I had spoken at a conference of some medical executives, and this practice administrator came up to me and he said, Ed, we've got to talk. The talk was about this concept of employment brand. And he said, I believe that my HR function is actively inhibiting my ability to grow this practice. Oof, that's some strong words. And when we got in there, what I found was that this was a really large practice. They were orthopedic docs, and their marketing brand was phenomenal. I mean, you broke a bone, you had a spinal issue, sports injury, and you went to these guys. They were that good, best in the region. Meanwhile, most of their workforce hated working there, wouldn't refer their friends, would actively tell people, don't come to work here, go across the street to that hospital system, okay? And when the president brought me in and I started talking to the docs were owners of this practice, and I sat this ownership group down and I said, guys, if you don't change, some of it was how they treated their staff, but if you don't change what's going on here, your marketing brand's going to suffer. Well, their ears perked up at that. And why did that happen? Revenue, right? If our marketing brand starts to suffer because we don't have, think of all the people that touch you when you go into a medical practice before you ever see the doc, right? And they started to connect those dots in their mind saying, wait a minute, if we can't bring in the good people that are going to stay and engage with our patients, we're not going to have any patients to see. At that point, they had about 40 open positions. Now, this was a very, very large practice. They had 40 open positions. And they were looking to open up another campus across town from where they were. And they're like, if we don't get this fixed, we're not going to have the staffing to do this. So we had to undertake a system and approach to turn their employment brand around. And it took a while. But they eventually opened up that new campus across town. It was on time, under budget. It was adequately staffed. We got time to fill down. We reduced the 40 positions to 15. I mean, all the measurable markers were there. All because they realized what was happening with their employment brand and the experiences that their people were having. Now, just as a funny side note, when I talked to the HR team about all this, they said, we do lots for our employees. I said, tell me, we've got wellness days. Now, you would expect to have wellness days in a medical practice, right? Guess what wellness days were? Check your blood pressure, right? Talk with maybe a nutritionist, cool stuff. And donuts and pizza as snacks. What the heck? I mean, you look at this and again, the mixed message. Oh, your blood pressure's good. Here, have some pepperoni on that pizza, right? So, it just, you look at this stuff and you say, what are we doing? Okay? What are our people telling us that they want to experience? I was working with a long-term care facility who, again, expanding like mad, started having trouble pulling in talent. Now, this system, I'll call it, gorgeous facilities. I mean, you would want your parents there. If they needed long-term care, you would want, the place is just stunning. But they were suffering from talent. And so we started looking at all the things they were doing from a talent perspective. And one of the things they had long ago outgrown the idea of having a pig roast on site once a year for their employees and their families. So they started taking everyone to the local amusement park. Still a good day, not quite the same vibe. And this was getting expensive. It was costing them $40,000 a year to do this. And so to cut a little bit of the cost, they said, look, all of our employees are going to be free. We would like to ask, though, for any of your family members to pay $5. Okay, so it's still a whole day at the amusement park, lunch included, all that for $5. Is that a deal? Huge deal, right? It's probably $85, $90 to get into this place. What do you think happened when they asked for the $5? Revolt, right? Absolute revolt. So up until that point, about 60% of the employees were going to this thing. That dropped to about 45%. And I said, what is that telling you? That 45% of your people, not even half of your people are going to this thing anymore, and a bunch of that 45% is unhappy because you're charging them now. Now, meanwhile, they also, every year on your birthday, you got a gift certificate to the local bake shop. There's a $10 gift certificate. Go get a cake made, any flavors, any icings, any designs, fully customized for you. 99% of those certificates got used every year. Now, what happened when I said, guys, you need to do away with that trip to the amusement park, that company picnic, as it were? What happened? What's that? By whom? Because the company, yes, because they've always had a company picnic. Don't slay the fatted calf, Ed. Are you kidding? I said, what are your people telling you they want, though? Right. Why are you spending $45,000, $40,000 a year on something that most of your people are telling you they don't want? It doesn't make any sense. Yet, how many of us are doing that kind of thing? Our people, from an experience standpoint, are telling us what they want. We just have to listen to it. So, when I think about this, I think it's about how we pull in the information and how we use it to describe who we are and what we are. So what we want is we want people on social media talking about what work life is like. Called in today because my spouse was sick and I needed to put my daughter on the bus, and my boss said, yep, no problem, get in here when you can. That's little. I would think that most of you would be like, well, yeah, what's the big deal, Ed? You'd be surprised how many companies that's a problem for, okay? Those are the kind of little anecdotes that we want out there to talk about what life is like working for you. Is it more than just, what's the word I'm looking for? Lip service, right? More than just lip service to what we do for our people. Oh, but Ed, we've got great benefits. So what? You got a 20-something workforce, they don't care about benefits. They don't. And it doesn't matter how much you lecture them about the importance of benefits, they don't care. So what do you do with that money you're spending? Oh, but we know that they need those benefits, but they're telling you they don't want them. So what do you do with all that money you're spending? Number of years back, probably more than 10 years ago, I was working with an accounting firm on their recruiting. And one of their complaints was they were losing candidates because all the other accounting firms were offering smartphones to their new college grads. And this firm didn't. But the pay was higher. In fact, high enough that these people could go out, get their own cell phone, pay for it, and still have money in their bank. right? But they weren't getting the candidates. I said, then why are you, lower your pay and give these people cell phones. Oh, but Ed, that's not fair to them. Okay, fair is a perception. Those candidates are telling you what they want. Don't give them what you want to give them what they want. They finally did. They solved the recruiting issue. Oh, and saved money. But it took them getting over this idea that, oh, it's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is what somebody else is telling you they want. Right? We used to say the golden rule was treat others as you want to be treated, but really it's not, right? Treat them as they want to be treated, right? Well, that's what we're talking about here. Do we treat our people the way they want to be treated or the way we think they should be treated? Those are two very, very different concepts for us to think about when it comes to how we engage with our people. So, here's why we should care. Bottom line is, what are your business processes like? When it comes to your people processes, do they support what's going on in your organization? Do they support what your people want or not? And here's an example. We've all called the infamous 1-800 helplines, right? And what's the most dreaded thing that happens when we call the 1-800 helplines? Put on hold, and what else? Push a million different buttons, and you finally get a hold of somebody. What's the next most dreaded thing? What's that? Language barrier can be a problem. What else? I'm sorry? Transfer you, and you got to tell your story 4, 5, 6 times, right? So I'm working with one of these groups that does this. They run a telephone center. Their statement, their kind of mission statement was on the wall in the phone center, says, we strive for one-call resolution. Beautiful. You answer the phone, customer tells you their problem, you fix it. Glorious thing, right? Now here's the tie into business processes. What do you think they were really doing? A little bit of screening going on. They were bonusing their telephone sales reps on how many calls an hour they took. Is that I mean, we look and say, who would do such a thing? This company. Do you have processes like that that are disconnected from what you say you're all about? I'm willing to bet if you dig deep enough, you'll find you've got some that just don't make sense. Well, if they don't make sense to you, they don't make sense to your people either. And that drives part of the experience. So if you're telling me I earn money by getting on and off the phone and taking more calls, what am I going to do? I don't care what's printed on the wall over here. I'm going to take more calls. I'm going to get him off the call, and I'm going to get her off the call, and I'm going to be your stud telephone answering guy, is what's going to happen. But meanwhile, have I satisfied the customers? Probably not. Okay? So do we have things like that that we're doing to our people that is a disconnect? Whether it's a reward system, whether it's flex work. Big issue right now for folks. Oh, wait, during COVID, I flexed all the time. Now you're telling me I got to come back into the office because we're better together. Are we better together? I don't know. That's a cultural thing you have to ask yourselves. Are you better together? I can tell you an organization I'm working with right now, the people are not happy. They say we are not better together. In fact, we feel like we were more productive, and the measurables would show they were during COVID. But the president's saying he wants them all back under because they're better together. And I'm in a battle with that president right now to try and get him to see you are not, and you are in danger of destroying this great culture that you have. So what are the title of this presentation was this new paradigm. When we have new paradigms, that means there's a shift going on. We're in the midst of it with the experience age and what our people are telling us. So I love this quote from Mike Wadera. It's not just about how much information is out there, it's about how we're consuming it and how we're using that information. More than ever, our candidates and our people are talking I mean, I can remember as an HR professional 10, 15 years ago, our biggest worry was, oh my gosh, can we stop people from sharing their wages and information on Facebook? Oh, for gosh sakes, we are so far beyond that, right? We should be more concerned about whether they're sharing how horrible their boss is and don't ever go to work there, and I'm due a raise, but it was supposed to be 3 months ago and I still don't have it and they keep promising it to me. That's the real dangerous stuff that's out there. And yet I still face folks, Ed, would you write a Facebook policy for us? No, I will not write a Facebook policy for you because you shouldn't care. Take care of your people, won't matter what's out there. Stop trying to regulate everything, okay? Now, that's a whole other topic for another day because some of you are probably going, well, Ed, we got to have it. I get it. My point is that if you tell people that you trust them, you value them, you love your people, you hug them when they come to work every day, and then you've got the list of thou shalt nots posted on the door, disconnect, right? Disconnect all day long. We've got to be careful of those kinds of things. Yes, do we need rules to run our business? Absolutely. And we hire against those rules. Here are the things that we need done. Are you going to do it? And if you do it, we're going to give you this bucket of money and benefits and great work environment and all these other things. And as long as these two things are in balance, everything is wonderful. But when one thing starts to get out of whack is where we run into trouble. And COVID showed us that, right? We started asking people to do more and more and more. So we're asking for more and more and more. Did we reward them more and more and more? No, in many cases. You're shaking your head, yes, did you? No, okay. I was going to say, cool, tell me about that, right? We didn't. And that's a problem. Most studies show that not only is about half of our workforce disengaged right now, they're waiting for the, quote, end of the pandemic to make a move. They're there already. And some of it is because of how we've treated them during the pandemic, okay? And how we continue to treat them. I mean, think about it. If you were fully productive and committed while you were working from home when we all had to do that, and now I basically tell you, no, you can't work from home, you've got to come back into the office, what am I essentially telling you? Don't trust you. When I had to trust you, I sucked it up and did, and you performed for me. But now I don't have to trust you anymore, so I won't. Come back to the office. That's a huge challenge for the experience of our people. And I'm using that just because that's current events. I mean, you could fill in the blank on a lot of those types of things, right? Whether it's about the trust or the work experience. I was working with a small advertising firm. The owner was a baby boomer. Most of the workforce, though, millennials. So a bit of a generational challenge there. It took him forever to agree to allow them. And I think about it, the advertising environment. It's a very creative environment. Got to have the juices flowing and everything. And these folks just wanted to dress casual coming to work. It was extremely rare that a customer ever came to their offices. He fought tooth and nail with his people with allowing them to wear jeans in the workplace. Like, why? What difference does it make what they wear? Don't you want them at their most comfortable, at their best, so they can be creative and open-minded and have their juices flowing? Let them come to work in pajamas if they're going to toss out great marketing and advertising plans for your customers. He's like, well, okay, Ed, okay. And then they wanted, get this, they wanted a Keurig. Can you imagine your people wanted a Keurig in the break room? I mean, the audacity of them to ask for that. What does that cost to put a Keurig in the break room? A couple $100 maybe? I don't know, right? And again, it's like, Ed, I don't understand. They got coffee in there. There's decaf, there's regular. I said, look, how much do you spend on coffee? What's really going on here? Put the doggone Keurig in. They can make their teas and hot chocolates in a million different flavors. Keep your people happy. It costs you next to nothing, right? That's what we're talking about here, okay? Because the information is out there on what other employees are doing for their people. So people know this. It's not just about looking and say, oh, is someone paying $5 more, an hour down the road? Can I get 10 grand more a year down the road? It's what's life like on the other side of the fence? And the companies that tell that story and have the greener grass are the ones that are going to pull in the employees that they need and that they want to have. So ultimately, Most sociologists, this is interesting, are saying we are evolving faster than ever before as humans. And it's not our physical bodies that are evolving, it's our minds. And it's because of our connection to social media and our ability to step into other people's experiences and see things that maybe we will never get the opportunity to see. I mean, think about GoPro cameras, right? So, one of your friends goes skydiving. You can experience that death-defying free fall, right? Right there with them. It's not just a shot taken in time. It's the actual video. You can probably feel your stomach go up into your throat when you're watching it, right? Because I know mine would, because I'm not jumping out of an airplane, okay? It's different. That's how we're consuming information today. We're consuming these experiences. It's huge. So when you look at this guide, so you will get these slides as handouts. This is the money slide right here. This is how we fix our problems. These 10 steps. I'm going to blow through it really, really quickly. That's not because it's not important. There's just a lot going on here, okay? The very first thing that we've got to look at is what are our concrete business issues? What are the things we've got to fix? What are our initiatives? What are the outcomes we want to drive? Everything starts there in our business all the time. And so my question, you don't have to answer it out loud, is do all of your people know what you're striving to do? And I don't mean do they know your mission statement. They should, but do they know what you're measuring and why? Do they know what their role is in helping you achieve those measurements and how? That's the fundamental piece with number one. There's also another key word in there. It says a few concrete outcomes. A board of another long-term care facility brought me in. They were struggling to meet their goals. I sat down with the CEO. He was tracking 13 different indices. Way too many. Can you track 13 things and be successful at it as a measurable, quote, measurable business outcomes? No. We had to get it down to, I think we ended up getting it down to 5. Even that, I was like, I'd like to shave one more off of there. We got down to 5 for that first year. Too many things. So nothing was, he kept insisting, yet I got to keep my hands on all this. I said, well, clearly you're not. He says, I'm not dropping balls. I said, well, residency's down, revenues are down, expenses are up. Tell me, what's working? You're tracking 13 things. Those are the 3 things I would worry about if I was president of a long-term care facility, right? Not working. They're all about counting beds, how many are open, the revenues coming in per bed. It can be that simple. They weren't hitting any of it. Number 2, the emotional commitment around those pieces. So you look at that customer service center, okay? There's no emotional connection when you're telling me to answer that phone as fast as I can to earn my bonus. I've got no emotional investment to take care of that customer I'm on the line with right now. So how do we revamp that to get our people to say, I get it. I get why that's so critical. I'm emotionally vested in what's going on. I care about what's going on. And most importantly, I know exactly what I need to do and how I need to do it to help those outcomes come to fruition. A lot of that is through the experiences. If you treat your customers better than you treat your people, you're going to create a problem. Everybody says, oh, but the customers are our lifeblood. No, they're not. Your people are. Your people, and that's not just coming because I'm an HR guy. You don't have customers if you don't have people. It's that simple. Oh, but I got a crack sales team. Great. Let them go out and sell your lawn mowing services and you got no lawnmowers. What good's that going to do you, right? Or you got lawnmowers, can't mow a straight line. Okay? Those are the problems. Until we take care of our people, nothing else in our business can possibly succeed. And so that's why that emotional connection for our people is so critical. People that are bought into what you're doing, how you're doing it, and they love the fact that they're a part of that mission, they will run through walls for you. And most importantly, they'll stay because of that emotional connection. We see it a lot in the not-for-profit world, but we can have it in the for-profit world as well if we apply those same principles to connecting people to our mission. Okay? Let's keep moving here. What is the experience you want your people to have? What does that look like for them? How do you know what experience your people want? Ask them. Thank you. Again, this isn't rocket science. I got a rocket up there, but it's not rocket science. Ask them what they want. It's really that simple, gang. It really is. Are you going to be able to deliver everything they want? No. Is that a reason to not ask? Let them ask. Let them tell you what they want. And the things we can't do for them, let's have a legitimate reason why, and let's tell them why we can't deliver on that piece. And then say, hey, do you have another option in there? Because we're okay with this idea. We just can't deliver it in the way that you want it. Okay? But here's the business reason why. Okay? So that compelling workplace experience is huge. It's probably the crux of this entire lifeline here, is that compelling experience. So then we go to, if you come from a larger organization, you might say, gosh, where do I start? Always start with your highest impact roles. Does that necessarily mean, I'm starting at the top of the org chart? Nope. Who are some of your most important people that work for you? Customer-facing people, right? We get so hung up in, it's got to be the VPs. They do all this stuff. If we believe that our people are the key to driving our customers' experiences, then we've got to start, the highest impact roles are probably the people that are the most customer-facing. Now, that does not mean that they see the customer necessarily. Do any of you have people that may never see the customer, but that are absolutely critical to the customer experience? Housekeeping, okay, sure. I may see them in the halls or whatever, but they do their magic when I'm not in the room, right? When I was in college, I worked at UPS. I worked on the docks. And I worked loading the brown delivery vehicles. So 2:30 in the morning to about 7:30 in the morning, that was my job. So what folks don't realize is they see the drivers out there in the brown trucks, the brown uniforms. If I don't get my package, that's his fault. Nope. It's that hungover college kid like me putting stuff in the wrong spot on the truck or in the wrong truck or whatever. That's why you don't get your box on time. The most critical customer experience position never sees a customer. Yet when I was there, I never really kind of thought about it. I'm just a 19-year-old college kid. What do I know, right? Do you have positions like that? And if so, what is their experience? How are they driving it? Do they know how critical their role is for the customer's experience and that connection? It's huge, huge, huge. Okay, moving on. Number 5 is changing behaviors. That means all of us. So this insurance firm that I'm doing the focus groups for right now, their CEO's got to change some behavior. I think I'm getting him there. He is a very sales-minded, drive, go, go, go kind of guy. Nothing wrong with that. He is a nice guy. He's not an ogre in any way. Really nice guy. However, he comes across, he's following a 40-year CEO who was very, almost fatherly in his leadership, okay? And that was fine. That's what that organization was built on, but it's changing, and they're growing like mad. And the board brought this guy in to help manage that growth and continue it on that path. And so people are looking and saying, well, gosh, he doesn't walk around and say hi to us every day, and he doesn't do this, and he doesn't do that. Now, he doesn't have time to do all of that. This is not a 30-person operation anymore, okay? But he also comes across as being rather unapproachable at times. And so we're working on some of those things with his behavior so that people can see he's not just this go, 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 pedal to the metal, drive business results, sell, sell, sell kind of guy. Because at heart, he's not. He's doing what the board needs him to do, but he has to change, and his exec team has to change how they're delivering the message. And so when we think about number 5, changing behaviors, again, we've got to start with leadership on that one. So the last one, it was the critical roles. This one's leadership. How is leadership behaving? How are they modeling the things that we want to see? Now, the next step then is citizen-led innovation. This, again, ask your people for ideas on how to fix things. Pull a team of your crack employees, best employees you got, put them in a room, give them a business struggle that you are facing, and see what happens. guarantee you they come out with stuff that has never come out of the boardroom or the executive suite. It just happens. I have a customer that does this all the time. They bring their newest employees in. So these people don't really know a whole lot about the business yet, okay? They'll be working there 4, 5, 6 months, enough to get their feet wet. And they'll throw them in a room and say, these are the biggest challenges we've got right now. And you'd be amazed at the number of solutions that have come out of those groups. It's amazing because they come at things with fresh eyes. Our people have a lot of the answers that we need if we're willing to ask them, okay? And that's part of the employment experience. It's part of the buy-in. It's part of that emotional connection that people want, okay? Moving on. This is a comprehensive journey. It's going to start, its little tendrils are going to start reaching into other things that you're doing. Your business processes are going to come under fire. Why are you doing things the way that you do them? How you recruit, how you train, the software packages and technology you use to deliver these things. You're going to start finding that there are massive impacts here. And it's all good. But again, it's a journey. People say, well, Ed, how long does this take? I don't know. I don't, because I don't know enough about your organization. I don't know where you're at on your cultural journey right now. Right? You may have a lot of things already in place. It's tweak, tweak, tweak. Others of you may be a hot mess, and we're starting from scratch. This could be years in the making. So while I love homework when you come to these things, I want you to be realistic. If you like what you're hearing, you say, I want to commit to this journey. No, it's a journey. It's not just a walk down to the waterfront here. Okay? This is a journey to get you to where you need to be. And depending on the size of your organization, those ships, we got an aircraft carrier right down here. How far do you think it takes them to turn around that thing, right? It's massive to turn a ship like that around. Depending on where you're at on your journey right now as an organization, it's going to take a lot of time to change course. And that's okay. It's not a reason to not do it. We just have to be realistic in our expectations of where we're going and let our people know that there is light at the end of the tunnel and that they're going to be part of getting that light to us faster. Okay? Next up, who are your cultural influencers? Sometimes we might call these your peer leaders, the people that other people listen to. Remember that old commercial? Again, I'm dating myself, I'm sorry. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen, right? Okay, you've got those people in your workforce. When they talk, other people listen. And I guarantee you they're not people with stripes on their shoulder because they're in management. If they're positive people, get them on your side. In one of these focus groups I was running, there was a guy who was very outspoken about some things that were very sensitive, let's put it that way. And I reached out to him and I said, you know, I can't break confidence on these focus groups. There's no names being used when I do my write-ups. I said, but management needs to hear what you just said. Will you allow me to release your name to HR and to corporate counsel because they have to hear this message? He said, absolutely. Why? Because he's a cultural influencer. And he and I have had several talks over the last couple of weeks. And he said, Ed, you wouldn't believe how many emails and phone calls I got after our focus group about my willingness to share what was going on in my head. He's clearly a cultural influencer. We're going to make him part of the solution. That's one of the best. And he's a great employee. I mean, he wasn't in this meeting complaining and moaning and groaning. He's like, we've got problems, and we've got to fix some of these problems. And now he wants to be part of it. So let's bring him on board. We have people like that. Let's let them help us. Okay? Number 9, you are going to have some people that aren't willing to go on to this journey with you. What do we do with them? It's a tough one. Kick them to the curb. How do you really feel about these people? Kick them to the curb. So I would say they might be resistors to change. So let's make sure that they're given time to adapt. But if ultimately they don't, we may need to move on without them. And I know that's a very difficult decision because they might be nice people. They probably are. They might be folks that we deem as valuable with their skill set. But if they're not willing to change their behaviors, they're going to damage us in the long run. So we really, again, it's that toss-up, right? Do we take a one step back to go 2 steps forward sort of scenario? Final step, track your results, right? Because you should have, if we're focused on, as we did in number 1 here, a few key things, we should start to see some successes pretty quickly. 6, 9, definitely by 12 months. You're not seeing something in 12 months, you're on the wrong path. Got to correct. Generally, I think after 6 months, you start to see some things from this process. Okay? So, of all the information, I love, love, love this slide. Take it home. Let it be your roadmap. Okay. Again, I'm not going through this. I'm breaking every rule of presenting by filling a slide with text, okay? But it's great information for you to take back. The old rules are the old way of doing things. New rules, the new way of doing things, okay? Compare, when you get back home and you take a look at the slide, compare it. Where are you on here? You're probably going to find some check marks on both sides, and that's okay. But this is part of your journey here, okay? You want to get everything over to the right side. That's where you want to be. And that last slide, the 10-point steps, are going to help you to get there, but this can help you to see which things you want to focus on. All right? So this is important to understand. I've been talking so much about experience, and people say, well, Ed, really what you're talking about is engagement. No. Engagement makes people happy. Experience keeps them committed. There's a difference. Yes, we want engaged people, absolutely. Yes, we want happy people, absolutely. I want committed people. Now, when I graduated college, I went from working the docks, I drove UPS truck for a little bit, and then I went into management. My first management role was in operations, so I had drivers reporting to me. And, of course, UPS is union, and, you got some staunch union guys, and they would never talk to management when they were off the clock, just would refuse. Okay, that's their right. And I had one of those in my group. And he was just miserable all the time. And his time came up for what we called a safety ride, which was his annual ride where I would go out and check his safe work and his safe driving habits. And I was just dreading this. Like, this is going to be just miserable 10 hours of my life here. And so I get on the truck. We drive to the first stop. He gets off he's off the truck. He's at the dock. Hey, guys, how you doing? Hey, and it's like, wait. Who is this guy? I've never seen this guy before, right? It's happened stop after stop after stop. And so finally at lunchtime, I said, all right, give up the goods. What is going on? Because this dude I've been seeing all morning is not the dude I see in the building. And he says, well, what do you mean? I said, you are miserable. You don't talk to anybody. You this. He says, well, these are my customers. Great. But why do you change when you go into the building? He goes, because I don't like any of you people, right? I said, okay, well, what do you mean by you people? He goes, I don't like management. I said, okay, what did I ever do to you? Like, I'm 6 months into this job. He says, you never did anything to me. Well, then why are you so miserable all the time? And he says, Ed, I'm not making this up. 15 years ago, my uniform was torn. And I went to management to get a replacement. And that's what UPS did. It was free, like they didn't have to buy them. He said, my supervisor would never order me a new uniform, and I had months where my uniform shirt was torn, and I had to go out looking unprofessional in front of my customers. I said, well, that really stinks. I'm sorry you had to experience that. Why is that my fault? He says, you're in management. Is he committed? Yes, he is absolutely committed. Who's he committed to? His customers, right? He never let his customers see that miserable, crotchety side of himself, okay? Never. But then again, we never saw that nice side of him. Honestly, I'd take a whole bunch of him today, now knowing what I know, I'd take a whole bunch of him because he cared about his customers. He cared about his appearance and how he appeared to his customers. We let him down. Well, not me. I was in grade school when this event happened, apparently, right? But he held on to it for 15 years. You've got people like this, right? But they care and they're committed. Let's leverage that. Okay. I want to wrap up with this idea of brand promise. So I asked you all what your marketing brand was. You got a sense of it. I want to give you 2 case studies of how your marketing brand and your employment brand are so inextricably linked. Okay? Because we've got a brand promise and we've got the brand experience. What we tell our customers they're going to get and what they actually get. And in there is authenticity. The exact same thing is true for your employee experience. You've got what you're promising them and what's real. And in the middle there is your authentic employment brand. Do you know what it is? That's the question. You should. Just like if you know your market positioning, you should know your employment brand position. Let's take a look at 2 quick case studies. Nike. Everyone knows just do it, right? It's not just a marketing mantra for them. When it comes to product development, when it comes to getting things done, what do you think they tell their people? Just do it. Make it happen. Okay? So it transcends the marketing piece. It has become a part of their lifeblood as an organization and how they manage people and how they get things done with their processes. Let's just make it happen. Let's figure it out. Okay? So their brand is being lived in-house. Their external brand is being lived in-house and it's become part of their ethos. And that's why I underline this piece. It's how they stand out in the marketplace, not just for their shoes and their athletic wear, but for how they get their people. Now I'm going to give you another one. I'm not going to ask you. You know this brand. Disney, right? Are they known for their customer service? Absolutely they are. Do people want to go work for Disney? Absolutely they do. Why? Because they treat their people well. So that whole thing, you go to Disney and you just step in to the experience. The same thing is true for their employees. They step into that experience. Do you guys know that every person at Disney has to work on the front lines at least once a year, no matter what role you're in? Do you guys know this? I mean, it's conceivable you could be at a park buying French fries from a vendor and that could be a vice president. Literally, could be, right? It's that important for them to show customer service. And they recognize that it's up to their people, especially those that maybe don't see the customers every day, to see how important it is to drive customer service. So it becomes part. And they've actually turned good people away from employment because people have said, well, that's below me. I don't do that. Well, guess what? You don't get to work here, okay? That's how strong a piece that is for them. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating you do that, but I want you to think about that, right? Do they see that tie? So, here's a couple of stats. Bottom line is this, you know this. Most people will have one poor experience with you and they leave as a customer. Do you really think it's any different as an employee? So, the same things that we measure from a customer-facing side, we've got to measure from an employee-facing side as well. We know that people are craving human interactions. That's what this whole session is about. How do we manage those human interactions between our people and our customers and our people and our people? Okay? That's what drives experiences. And if you can drive those experiences, now you're driving everything else in your organization. It probably sounds oversimplified. You're probably thinking, gosh, Ed, but I got this going on and that going on and this going on and that going on. I promise you, I've seen it time and time and time again. I have a customer right now whose business is growing and it is failing because his executive team will not get on board with what we're doing. And we are this close, gang, to cleaning out his entire executive wing. The owner is that serious on turning his ship around. And we got to that last thing that said about the unwilling, get rid of the unwilling. We've got some people that are unwilling at the highest levels of the company. And we're in the process of figuring out, okay, we've given them 2-3 months to get with this idea. We're going to give them another 2 or 3 months to see if they're actually going to start exhibiting behaviors, and then it's going to be time for some serious talks. That's how committed he is, because he recognizes if his leadership isn't going to figure it out, there's no way he can get his people to figure it out. So, to wrap up, here's your homework. What are your people's expectations, and what's the current reality? Where are you on that diagram? You're probably not meeting all of your employees' expectations, and that's okay. We said this was a journey. Ask them what they want, try and deliver on it. Create the experiences that are going to allow them to bring their full selves to work, to drive innovation for your organization, service for your customers, great products if you're into manufacturing widgets or something, whatever it happens to be, okay? But ask yourself, where am I on this chart here? Am I delivering on what my people really want? Am I delivering on what I'm saying I'm going to deliver on? It's huge. Okay. We're going to do the same thing for candidates. You will have this information. I know we're up against it. So in closing, look at where you are. Look at your current reality from your perspective as an executive. Look at the current reality from your people's perspective. Look at your current reality from the candidate perspective. If you can tie those three things together and get all of those moving in the exact same direction, now you're on the journey that we talked about of transforming your culture and moving your company into the experience age. And when you do that, guess where you get to hang out? We talked about at the beginning, Jenny. Where do you want to hang out? On the good island, right? We don't want to be on the volcanic ash island anymore. We want to drink our margaritas and mimosas and be taken care of by pool people and massages on the beach. That's the stuff that we want. And that's where we can be in the experience age. So thank you for your willingness to chat and for your time this afternoon. I appreciate it.